Good morning. Today is section 121, verses 35 through 46. And there's some really good things in this one. So I'm going to be reading a lot. Deal with it. So it's 35 through 46, and 34 and 35 really go together, so it's kind of hard that they're split up, but it's many are called but few are chosen. And why are they not chosen? Because their hearts are set upon the things of the world. So here's concerning verse 35 about their hearts are set so much upon the things of this world. Just going to read it. Some years ago, I read an editorial in the Deseret News entitled "The Mechanical Rabbit." I quote, "Most of our readers must have smiled the other day when they read of the greyhounds in Britain who don't know a rabbit when they see one. So long had they chased a mechanical rabbit around the racetrack that when a real rabbit bounded across the track, the dogs didn't give it a second look. Stupid, huh? But sad too. This perverting of natural instincts. We chase mechanical rabbits too. We chase paychecks and don't give a second look to the glint of the rising sun on the snow-topped peak. We chase our way through the appointments of a crowded desk calendar and fail to take time to chat with the next-door neighbor or to drop in on a sick friend. We chase social pleasures on a glittering, noisy treadmill and ignore the privilege of a quiet hour telling bedtime stories to an innocent-eyed child. We chase prestige and wealth and don't recognize the real opportunities for joy that cross our paths. Race on, you poor, blind, over-civilized hounds. You'll never catch your rabbit until you learn to recognize a genuine one. But you'll have company in your race, the company of unnumbered men who will never catch the joy they chase until they, too, learn to recognize a genuine one. In modern revelation, the Lord said, "Behold, there are many called, but few are chosen. And why are they not chosen? Because their hearts are set so much upon the things of this world and aspire to the honors of men. Here is instruction to straighten out our values. Have we sought so much for material things while missing, even ignoring, the things of God?" And that's Theodore Tuttle from the Ensign in December 1971. I thought that was so clear and concise and an interesting way to look at it, to express this thing of chasing mechanical rabbits. Like, it's thought-provoking for sure. And then Harold Bealey talks about kicking against the pricks. I don't know. Men begin to fall away. They first begin to kick against the pricks. These, no doubt, are the pricks of the gospel. I wonder perhaps if they are not those things President J. Reuben Clark called restraints. The restraints of the word of wisdom, the restraints of imposed in keeping the Sabbath day holy, injunctions against card playing, the restraints imposed by following out the welfare program, and so we might go on. These are the restraints against which some people seem to rebel and are kicking constantly against, the pricks of the gospel. These persons are the ones who next begin to persecute the saints and finally to fight against God. That's in 1947. Again, thought-provoking. You can't say it better than Harold Bealey. You know, he's just saying if you fight against some of the standards of the church, then, you're going to be persecuting the saints next. Next is verse 39, talking about unrighteous dominion. And this quote from Joseph Fielding Smith seems very appropriate for today. Most men are inclined to abuse authority, especially those who wield it who are the least prepared to hold positions of trust. It has been the characteristic of men in power to use that power to gratify their own pride and vain ambitions. More misery has come to the inhabitants of this world through the exercise of authority by those who least deserve it than from almost any other cause. Rulers of kingdoms in the past have oppressed their subjects, and where they had the power, they have sought to increase their dominions. We have had some horrible examples of misplaced ambition which, in recent years, placed the very existence of humanity in peril. These conditions still prevail in high places, bringing fear and consternation to a troubled world. There should not, however, be any of this unrighteous ambition within the Church, but everything should be done in the spirit of love and humility. And then Orson F. Whitney, he says, all men who hold positions do not abuse its privileges, and the man who serves God humbly and faithfully never will. For the moment he yielded to the temptation so to do, that moment would he cease to serve the Lord. But there are many, alas, who sadly misuse the functions of their office and prostitute every power and privilege to the gratification of self and the injury and embarrassment of their fellow men. It is dangerous to put some men into power. They swell up and become so distended with the ideas of their greatness and importance that we are forcibly reminded of so many inflated toy balloons, which the slightest prick of a pin would burst and ruin forever. A very small office and a very little authority is sufficient to intoxicate some men and render them entirely unfit for duty. I'm going to let all that speak for itself. Okay, so then verse 43, it says, reproving betimes with sharpness. Now, in the podcast, they clarify that sharpness could mean clarity, not like the sharpness of a sword. You know, sometimes it's just clarity, not harshness. Quote from Joseph Smith, I frequently rebuke and admonish my brethren, and that because I love them, not because I wish to incur their displeasure or mar their happiness. And then, let virtue garnish thy thoughts unceasingly. I really liked this one. I know of no greater promise made by God to man than the promise made to those who let virtue garnish their thoughts unceasingly. Channing Pollock once remarked, a world in which everyone believed in the purity of women and the nobility of men and acted accordingly would be a very different world, but a grand place to live in. That was Reader's Digest 1960 where he said that. I assure you that it would be a world of freedom in which the spirit of man might grow to undreamed of glory, a world of peace, the peace of clear conscience, of unsullied love, of fidelity, of unfailing trust and loyalty. This may appear an unattainable dream for the world, but for each of you it can be a reality, and the world will be so much the richer and the stronger for the virtue of your individual lives. And that's Gordon B. Hinckley in 1970. A world in which everyone believed in the purity of women and the nobility of men and acted accordingly would be a very different world, but a grand place to live in. Nobody believes in the virtue of women, and nobody believes in the nobility of men anymore. And the world is not a grand place to live in. It's sad, but those are the things I liked from here. And that's section 121. We finished it out. So we will see you for 122 tomorrow. It's all of 122 tomorrow. All right. I love you very much. I will talk to you later.